right?
Oh, yes, sir. We are live and in living color. This your girl, Comedienne Joy, and I am so honored to be with the one and only Mr. McDonald of Vision Cellars Wine. We've been up here chopping it up. Good evening, Mr. Mac. How you doing?
I'm doing really good day to day. A little cold, but I'm good.
Now, you in California. I don't think you cold like we cold down here in Alabama.
Well, no, I don't think we are at the present. We don't have the tornadoes that you have down there and hurricane stuff, but we do have an earthquake once in a while. But today is, what, about 57, 58 degrees, but it's, 63. It's kind of nice today. The wood doors have been open most of the day, so we're good.
Yeah, well, listen, that's the kind of cold we wish we had. We actually had some snow on the ground, believe it or not, here in Alabama.
Wow.
So yeah, but earlier this summer you had to deal with the fires. So we're glad that hopefully that's have subsided.
Well, it just subsided about, I guess, about 3 weeks ago in the middle of, the winter. They were talking about fires, and I'm talking, God, last year I think we packed 3 times. We had to pack up and get in our car and take off, but we didn't get burned out. But it kind of really screwed up a lot of the vineyards. Our vineyard got all smoked up, and so they wasn't able to get fruit in the last 3 years, in fact that we've had to buy fruit from way out of the area. But that's part of farming. Some years the bugs eat it up, and some years fire and smoke gets you.
Yeah, well, who knows? Maybe we can make a new variety of, maybe have some smoked white wine or some smoked rosé. Who knows?
Now
So
you said
let's talk about.
back in 2008, we had a lot of fires in the northern part. I live about 120 miles north of San Francisco in Sonoma County. Sonoma County is known for, Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Zinfandel. That's what really grows really the best in this area. And so I bought this wine up in Mendocino County, which is the next county up. And it was the woods caught on fire. And they grew a lot of pot up there. So the woods caught on fire. And I said, I'm gonna make this wine anyway. And I came to Alabama. It's a restaurant up on top of the hill. I forget the name of the restaurant. Way up on top of a hill up there, overlooking Birmingham. And I was going to do an education piece to let folks know what smoke taint was. Well, the chef made this wonderful pig stew, and we had it with that smoked Syrah, and oh, it just blew me away. And then now everybody still asks me all the time, well, when are you going to make some more of that wine? I said, I can't duplicate that anymore. I can't because I don't know how much smoke was in it. I don't know how much weed was gotten blown into the grapes, to give it that flavor that you guys all like. So I did make a real smoky wine, but it came out really good.
That is quite.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about wine. So tonight we're going to actually taste two of them. One is a rosé, and then the other one is a California White. It's 2017. I want to open this one first, and
Sure.
some ladies they actually have this as well, and we want to talk about what inspired you with this. What should we expect when we taste this? Because you do have a variety of white wines. You have I don't want even want to talk about your story, which is quite interesting of you becoming a winemaker.
Okay.
So are you gonna sip this 2017 with us, or you have a different variety of your
No,
wine?
I always have some of my wines hanging around for these type of occasions, but most folks drink their wines up pretty fast. If you notice on all our wines, they are released a little bit later. One of the reasons that wineries release their wine so quickly is that they have to cover their overhead. And so
Okay.
since the only overhead that we have here is Miss Lil, who is my wife, my partner, my boss, all in one. That's the only overhead we have. I don't, get paid for working for Vision Sellers, and she can't buy any more rings and clothes because she ain't got no place to put them. So we keep our wines for a little bit longer for that reason, so that they can kind of really mature and mellow out in the bottle. But this wine here, I tell you something. I'm going to show you something. I want you to smell this first, okay? I want you to smell that wine, okay?
I
And then
did. It smells
I want you to
good.
put your hand on top of that glass like that. And
Okay.
I want you to do it like this, okay? And then I want you to stick your nose in it again. And stick your nose in it. And you'll see that you get a whole big flash of flavors and different notes on this wine. And I would describe this wine right out of the bat as a wine with the nose with a lot of tropical fruit. And most of the time in wines, you won't get the nose and the mouthfeel the same. But in our wine, pretty much the nose and the mouthfeel is the same as you're going to get on this nose. So I get a lot of tropical fruits, like bananas, dried bananas, a little bit of peach way in the background, and that. I just pick up so much other good things in this wine. Also, depending on the temperature that you have this wine is what you're going to get out of it. It's kind of take example if you're drinking gin and you just take a sip of that Zen and then it's kind of warm and it hasn't been chilled down, it's going to just hit you right in the nose. Or if you take a swallow of it, it's going to burn you all the way down. But if you're a double A fueler where you keep it in the freezer all the time, when you take it out, then it's a lot easier to drink. That's one of the reasons that they put ice in it, so it helps get rid of that alcohol. It's still there, but you don't taste it as much because it's frozen. So that's what I get out of these wines. Enjoy the whole thing about wine is that when this wine, before this wine is bottled, I write my notes on this wine because I have to
Okay.
put on the back of the label sometime what you're going to get out of this wine. 6 months later, if I wrote those notes, they'd be a little different. And you can imagine, in 4 years later, what kind of notes I would be writing. It wouldn't be the same. Or another example of that, if you made a pot of pasta today and you tasted it today and you taste it tomorrow or the next day, going to be completely different because it had a chance to fuse all in. Well, wine is the same way. It fuses in, the bacteria grows in it or not grow in it, and there's nothing wrong with bacteria growing in wine because it's an evolving thing. So that's why you have to really watch your wines, and they'll change over a period of time. If you have a real fine palate, if you don't, you may not pick it up as much, but I can pick it up pretty much and kind of give you kind of a year, I think, that the wine was actually bottled, and I don't miss it too often, because I drink a lot of wine.
Right.
Yeah. But
Yeah, I can taste the fruitiness that's in here, and it's really light. For me,
mm,
I like it because it's not overly sweet. It's just a right amount of sugar for
yes,
me.
right. And so I keep in mind, you got to remember also when we do these wines, we go to different restaurants. We go to a fish restaurant, we go to a steakhouse, and we go to all these different restaurants, and we take a bottle of this wine, and we try that wine in those restaurants because different places you are that you're having wine, depending on how close the kitchen is, it can mess up my taste buds for me. And so I try out these wines and I sometimes make an adjustments on them depending on what I'm getting when I'm at that restaurant. And I also get a lot of feedback from my customers. Most of them say, well, don't ever change anything on that. But each year, your fruit may taste a little different. And so all we do is just make an adjustments on what type of how we store it, what temperature we use, and all that make a difference in the outcome of what type of yeast you use in fermenting the wine. All the thing the yeast does is turn the sugar into alcohol. That's what you talk about when you talk about going through the fermentation process. But
Mhm.
we enjoy this wine. We like this with catfish tacos. We like it with, Cajun type of food. I even had some the other day with smothered chicken, and it was really, really good over mashed potatoes. It was really good. We
Oh,
really
that
enjoyed
sounds
it.
awesome.
Yeah.
So
Because
we
you
actually
said
guess that
that, so we had it I think it was last night or the night before we had it. And then we had, we'll talk about the rosé later, but we had the rosé today with tomato soup. and hush puppies. I made hush puppies for the first time today. I never made them in before in my life, but
Get out.
yeah, I never made them before. I called up one of my old chef buddies, and he told me how to do it.
Well,
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
So we have a few guests that's going to join us. These
sure.
ladies are sipping on your wine. And so if you all, let's see if I can unmute you all, want to tell us your thoughts about, you all need to unmute yourself. So that way we can, you can share what you all think about the wine.
Hey everybody, this is
Sandra,
Sandra. It is very
what do you
smooth.
think?
I really like it. It's very smooth. It's very light. It's not overpowering, so it doesn't wouldn't take over your any food that you were eating.
Sandra, before you ask me a question, I have one for you. What would you pair this with yourself? Just thinking about it.
Let's see. Really, what I actually eat is like it would be probably a fish or because I'm basically vegan, so it would
Okay.
be if I ate anything that was meat, it would be like a fish or seafood.
Mm-hmm. Well, everybody has different palate tastes and different things that they would pair with. But I like this with, you could do a veggie sandwich. My one of my granddaughters is a vegetarian, and so she stayed with us for about a year, and she almost converted me. But any type of grilled vegetable sandwich is really good with this wine. Now, for the meat lovers, I done a thing with Emeril Lagasse one time, and he took one of them little pork tenderloins, and he put that Bam stuff on it, and he threw it on the grill, like for maybe 10 minutes on both sides. I said, that thing ain't done, but it was, and he cut it up a little bit, and he served that with this white wine. It was really good. So once in a while, I do that. Okay, how about anyone else?
Terry?
Hey, so when you said tacos, that just immediately I was like, that's it. That would be the perfect food. Um, to me, it feels like what I would call a beach wine. So it's something that I'd be doing, happy hour time frame at the beach while everyone's still debating where we going tonight and all that stuff. So that type of food, the light, so the seafood, I wouldn't be like, oh, prime rib with this.
Mhm.
But yeah, those summertime foods that aren't going to weigh you down. So the tacos, fish, yeah. Ooh, crab. Yeah,
Well,
this would
now
go
you're
great
talking
with
about.
crab.
Yep.
Yeah.
I done this with a chef named Charlie Palmer. He has a restaurant here in Sonoma County. I live about 120 miles north of San Francisco, but he has restaurants in Dallas and Washington D.C. So about a week ago, we went up and cooked with him, and he done a pasta where he added crab and lemon zest. It was really, really good. He showed me how to cook it, and we cooked it together. So those type of dishes are good, and
Oh, yeah, like a piccata.
yeah,
Oh,
it was just off the hook. I also like this with most all soups. It can be a black bean soup or last week I made a black eyed pea soup. Got from a chef in North Carolina. That's a head chef at the Angus Barn now, and so he cooked this black eyed pea soup for dinner I done, and I thought I'm gonna try that. So I called him up and he sent me the recipe. It was really good. I never would have done that had I not had it at his restaurant. So, anyone else?
Now listen.
I'm
Let's see. I think that's is that Chandrell? You have a question and thoughts? You want to talk about the wine over there with Sonny? Okay. Maybe they'll chime in just a little bit. So I just want to say this is a very light wine. Like you can sit here and finish this bottle by yourself. I don't know if this is something you're supposed to do or whatever, but I'm just saying.
I like you already. You know, this is something.
I got a half a bottle left right now, and I'm just sitting here chilling with some friends.
Well, back when I started making this wine, this blend, nobody was doing this in the United States. I don't know about another country, but nobody was doing this. And so Miss Lil likes Sauvignon Blanc. And I like Pinot Gris, but most of the Pinot Gris I like come out of the Oregon, area, closer to the ocean because it's cool. It don't get too hot. Because when you get into hot weather, your grapes kind of sometimes when they get ripe, they turn raisin they like. And it gives me undesirable flavors that I don't like. So I would drink my bottle of Pinot Gris and she drank her Sauvignon Blanc. And one day she said to me, she said, well, why don't you just combine them together so that we can drink two bottles together instead of me drinking my one? I said, oh, you got to be a fool to do something like that. Nobody put those two grapes together. She goes, well, why don't you just try it? And I said, nah, I ain't going to do that. But one day I was over in the winery and I started playing around. And I said, oh, maybe that's not a bad deal. So it's been about 12, 15 years ago. About 15 years ago, we started making this wine. And we can't keep it in. It's always gone. Restaurants hog it every year because they can charge more for it. But a few of our wine club members get on the list. They'll order it, but it's not something that we advertise a lot of. And it's harder to do because you have to go on percentage. Some years your Sauvignon Blanc may be a little bit stronger. Your Viogniers may be a little stronger, but normally we make this out of Sauvignon Blanc and Pinot Gris. But this one we changed because we didn't like the Pinot Gris in 2017, so we used the Viognier. So that's why you can pick up a little bit more of that tropical fruit with a little bit of that lemon lime, green apple, that type of. So it's just a wine that you can sit and as you sip it, you'll say, "Well, I didn't get that the last sip I had." Next thing you know, you got an empty bowl. So it's a fun. Yeah.
So let me ask. Okay, so do we have anyone else? Because I think we had a few more people to tune in. Let's see, Nika or Janice. Did you all have a question that you want to ask Mr. Mack? You all have to unmute if you do.
Not at the moment. Maybe about the next blend.
So, what do you think about the wine? Have you tried yours yet, Janice?
So far, I'm enjoying it. I'm not particularly fond of white wine, but I think just overall, something I'd say I'd probably purchase again.
Okay. That's fair enough, Wine, one of the things to keep in mind, when you got to have, and I appreciate your comment on that because a lot of folks get stuck into white wine or red wine and they don't try any other wine. And I tell everyone, you may not like my white wine, but that doesn't mean you don't like white wine. You just don't like my style. You know what I mean? You go to a restaurant, you get yourself a catfish taco. You might not like my catfish taco, but that don't mean you don't like catfish taco. You don't like maybe the dressings that I put on it, or you don't like the lettuce or something about it. Where you go to another place and they put the right dressing on it for you, it's really, really, really good. So I'm glad to see you have an open mind on that. We all need to keep that because if you go to, people will come and they'll go wine tasting and they'll say, I don't like Pinot Noirs. Have you ever tried them? No, I don't really like them. I had one long time ago and it really wasn't that good. That's a possibility. But that doesn't mean that you really don't like Pinot. It means that you don't like the style that maybe I made or someone else made. I find that too. I drink all kind of wine. I open up wine sometime. I don't know what it's going to taste like, but I give it a try and I try to give it the best shot that I can. Because that person made that bottle of wine, somebody out there like it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be making it.
Yeah,
that's true.
Can I ask a question?
So go ahead.
I was gonna say one thing. I'll say my biggest issue. I don't like things that are like just too on the nose and overly sweet. And I would say your white blend. What I appreciated about it, I could kind of pick up those pineapple notes, and I felt like it wasn't extremely dry. It was dry to the point where I could appreciate that it wasn't too strong, if that makes sense. I think a lot of times white wines just have that bitter point that I'm not terribly fond of, but I felt like it was just so soft and refreshing, and you could pick up all the different notes that you included as far as the fruit that made it way more enjoyable than most white wines that I typically don't really like. So
Well, what brings that about sometimes is that when you're drinking white wine, the two reasons how folks make wine. Some folks make wine so they can enjoy it themselves or the wines that they like. And hopefully, if you're doing that, you find enough folks out there that enjoy your style. Some folks make wine to sell. And when I say that is that, the writers sometimes who critique your wine, some of those folks are double A fuelers. You got to have a lot of alcohol in it for them to even taste it. They've been, if you're a wine critic and you tasting 150 to 200 wines a day, how the hell are you going to be sober after 2 o'clock? I mean, really, when you think about it, that's why we get great ratings on our wine, but I'm not a great follower of rating. You may see I may put some on the website once in a while. That's just for folks who believe in rating. But you have to like what you like. And if you going out there sometime and you trying to make this wine just for that critic person to give you that, 90 points or 95 points on, you may be making something you don't really enjoy yourself. And if you don't put too much wood onto your wine, you can taste the fruit. In other words, when you drink Vision Cellars wine, it doesn't make any difference which one you're drinking. We want you to be able to feel like you're chewing on the grape itself. And that's what you were talking about. I appreciate your comment on that.
Thank you.
So I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Terry.
So let's say, and this hasn't happened yet tonight, but let's say you're drinking a glass of wine and it's not your cup of tea. It's not something you're enjoying. Do you have any tips for okay, if it's tasting too much like this, try eating that, or some way to kind of rescue the bottle, if you will, so you can find a way to enjoy it?
Yeah. Sometimes, are you a red wine? You talking red wine or white wine?
I mean, I drink both, so yeah, either one.
Some of the things I'm going to tell you to work for both. If you're having a wine and compared to coffee, if you're drinking coffee and you like your coffee warm, and it's cold, a little bit cooler, what do? You stick it back in the nuke up, right? Or you warm it up or add more to it, or you mess around and put too much sugar or something in it. Well, wine, if you have it and you kind of just don't like the flavor of it, maybe it's a temperature that's bothering you a little bit. That's why we suggested today on this white wine and the rosé, you put it in the fridge for like 15 minutes. That's for the normal folks that I said that to. But people's like me, you put it into the freezer. My rosés, I put it into the freezer and I get it like a slushy thing. And I'm telling you, I can go to town with myself a fish taco or a ham sandwich or something. You know what I mean? And so it all depends on the temperature you like your wine. So if you have a wine and you're not liking the flavor of it, put it in the freezer part for like 15 minutes and retaste it. And shoot me an email at wine@visionsellers.com and let me know what you think. Now, also,
that sounds so delicious.
Yeah. Now, another thing that you do, I have folks from all over, who buy our wine, and they'll call me up and they'll go, well, Mac, they'll give you an example, say Texas, and they'll call me up and say, Mac, we having salmon tonight. Which one of these wines should I have? My first question to them is, what part of Texas are you living in? Are you living in north part of Texas? Or are you living in down by Austin, San Antonio? There's a difference because in the northern part of Dallas, they don't use that much spice. And down in San Antonio, you go into those restaurants and things there, they use more spice. It's more Latino, Spanish culture there. So everybody uses a little bit more spice. So the spices and things that you're using to cook with make a difference in your wine. If you're putting something on there that may make your food taste a little bitter. It might not be the wine problem; it's the food problem. So you kind of go through a process of eliminating what spices go well with your wine as well. You know, the fish and the meat will take care of itself, and the vegetable. It's the spices that you put on them that will make a difference in your wine. So you figure that out, and that's why some people say, well, yeah, I love Joe Blow's tacos better because maybe Joe Blow don't put as much spice in the taco as Jack does, or that type of stuff. That makes sense, you guys?
Oh,
Yep,
totally.
I'm ready to.
It,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I love it when I hear stuff and it's like, hey, this is giving you freedom to experiment. So if you don't like it, try again.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, but try that. To all of you, try it. If you have something you don't like, chill it and see if it get a different. A good thing to always have with wine, though, to get yourself really up to date and educated on it. Buy yourself one of them little tester things. You have a little tester, you put it up to the bowl, and it give you the temperature of the wine. So if you know what temperature it is, you'll find out what temperature you like your wine. So just try it. I don't know what them things cost, but I used to order them and give them to people all the time because it makes a difference at what temperature your wine that you're drinking is with your food. I like various soups, and so I love to have for lunch. I normally have some type of soup. In the summer, I have just half of a veggie sandwich out of my garden. And okay, what it is out there, I'm going to have a half a sandwich out of something out of my garden. But I chill the white wine and the rosé extremely well. If I'm working in the vineyard and it's a real hot day, Miss Lil will come out to the vineyard and she'll bring me a quart jar of that rosé, and I have it filled with ice. And let me tell you, I hit that sucker and I'm good. These wines people talk about wines. What wine is good for this time of year? It's your money. And you know what I mean when I say that? People say, well, why do you like that wine? Well, it's your wine. It's your money. You ought to be able to spend your money on what you like. And if you think that you want to have this wine with a New York steak, that's what you should have. That's your business. Don't worry about what that sommelier tell you that don't go with this and that don't go with that. Oh, they'll often do that. They'll go out to a restaurant and order a bottle of wine, and then I'll tell some of the restaurant, the wine rack is right outside the kitchen, and it's the wrong temperature, right? So I tell the guy, hey, bring me a bucket and fill it up with ice and water. He goes, well, Mr. McDonald, sir, that's a red wine. And I said, well, you want a tip out of me, you bring me that bucket and put it right here. So they do. So when I pay the bill, I give them my credit card. They go, oh, you didn't tell us you was mad. You didn't tell. I said, that shouldn't have to. I'm paying for what I want. Your job is to give me what I want. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you like your wine chill a little bit chiller, when I'm talking about chill, all this room temperature crap, what the hell does that mean? Don't mean nothing to me because your room may be hotter than mine. That's why I say you get one of them little things where you get your wine at the right temperature. You got it made. You know what you like. I hope that answers your question.
I love it. So let me ask this. So we want to go ahead and open the rosé. And while we're opening that, I want you to tell us your story because when I read it, it was so hilarious. You're 12 years old. I think your father, your parents was moonshiners. But then you're talking about you want to start a vineyard, didn't even know what the grape was.
Well, my father was a moonshine maker, and I grew up 89 miles south of Dallas, close to an area. That's in East Texas, and towns in that area is around by Waco. You remember several years ago they had the mass murder thing in Waco with somebody, I forget who it was. Somebody blew up and the government went in and blew them up over there or something. And then the next little town is called Palestine. That's all in East Texas. And I grew up in those woods down there, and my grandfather was a hunter. He had all these hunting dogs, and all these doctors and people used to come down every weekend and go hunting with my grandfather. And my grandmother would, cook them rabbits and squirrels and anything else was down off in those woods. And one of them used to drink Burgundy. And so these guys was giving this guy a hard time by calling him a communist for drinking Burgundy wine. And so he asked me, he says, "Hey, would you like this bottle of wine? I'm 12 years old." And I said, "Yes, I would." And he gave it to me, but I didn't know how to open it. So I took my pocket knife, because every boy in the country, Alabama, where you are, you little black boy, you had a knife, and the knife was called a K-bar. If you don't believe it, ask your dad or your grandpa. He'll tell you had a K-bar knife, and what they used that K-bar knife for was the whittle on sticks. You made toothpicks out of them, or you took your bullwood tobacco and you cut it in little slices and chew on it. I never got into that because I'd make me sick. So I took a cork, I took my knife and I dug all that cork out of there, and then I took a stick and I shoved it off in there, and juice went everywhere. When I drank that half a bottle of that wine at 12 years old, and my uncle came along and took it away from me. But I remembered that wine, and I thought, boy, this is good. I didn't know at that time, I didn't know a Burgundy from a Chardonnay, from a Zin, or from anything. I didn't know. All I know is that they call it a Burgundy. And so I wanted to be, after that, I talked about being a winemaker. And all my relatives was good old Baptists. They told me I'd go die and go to hell by drinking, but, I didn't make it yet. So so my high school coach, moving fast forward, my high school coach says, if you want to make wine, you need to move to California. That's when I left Texas right out of high school to move to California in 1962 because I wanted to learn how to make wine. I got here, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody in California. I didn't know where I was going to stay. But I ran across this minister, and of all people, is a Baptist minister. And I started talking to him about what I wanted to do, but I didn't know at the time he was a minister. And he just told me, boy, you shouldn't get into that business, And he explained to me why. And I said, well, sir, that's really what I want to do. And so he says, well, if you want to know about this wine stuff, you got to go across the bridge and go north, go across the bridge. Well, no matter which way you go, you're going to go across the bridge. Now I don't know which bridge to go to. So I finally ended up taking the bridge into San Francisco, but there's no grapes there. So then I came back, and somebody told me, you have to go up, to Mendocino, not Napa, but Mendocino. So I made up there and run through a lot of stuff. I met a lot of winemakers. Never been ashamed to ask someone that for information that I don't know. I always had the philosophy from my father was that if you don't know somebody, find somebody a lot smarter than you are to help you get over to that point that you need to do. Forget about what color they are, forget about what gender they are, and go out and learn as much as you can from someone. So I met all these different winemakers, and some of them would talk to me, some of them wouldn't give me the time of day, but that didn't stop me from going back to get information. Then I read as much as I could about it. It wasn't a lot of information. Most of these guys was old time, Italian guys anyway, and they didn't give a rat's butt about nothing but, making money themselves. But some of them took some time with me to talk to me about stuff. So over the period of years, there's a family that make wine called Camus, Caymus, and they kind of like took Lil and I in, and I worked with the owner in the vineyard. I was hanging around with him out in the vineyard for like 9 months. I had no idea who he was. He didn't tell me who he was. And so one day the taste room man said, why are you over here bothering Mr. Wagner? I said, you mean that old man out there? He goes, that ain't just some old man. He owned this place. He would be out in that vineyard pruning, and he told me all about pruning, talked to me about the dirt and all of that type of stuff. And after hanging out with him for about 15 years and meeting other winemakers and cleaning tanks and smelling barrels and pruning and learning all about the makeup of wine, they told me one day, say, son, you ought to be in the business. And I'm thinking, well, I'd like to, but Mr. Wagner, but I don't have any money. He goes, don't worry about it, we'll help you. So Miss Little and I had $90,000, and we started Vision Cellars in 1995. And we've been making award-winning wine ever since. That's how I got into the business. But any business you get into, you got to have time, and you got to put a lot of times in it. It is a lot of work, and it's not something easy. But for me, it's rewarding. It's rewarding to see how well other folks who look like me are doing in this wine business. And I've been instrumental in helping over half of them get to where they are, and that's one thing I'm really proud of. I also started out doing a lot of mentoring and schools. I started off with adults, and I figured, well, in the 12th grade or something like that, I started going to high school talking about my business and business in general. But I figured out that by the time a student gets 12th grade, they either know they're going to be a dummy or they already got their mind up, made what they want to do. So then I came back and went to start going to the grade school, and in the African American community, the parents didn't want their kids to learn about wine. So then I started doing things for these seminars for adults and let them know you don't have to drink wine. You may work at a restaurant, you may work at a wine shop, you may work at a grocery store. If you know about wine or whatever, then you can get promoted. So that's basically really a lot about how I got into this wine business.
That is
Any other questions for me?
Well, listen, I know I've opened my rosé. I hope the other ladies have too. Is there something special we need to do with this one? Do we need to swirl it and cover it up like we did the white?
No, you should taste this. Yes, yeah, try. Just try that. That's a good way you do your wine. And wine is more folks than just about drinking. If you want to get drunk, get some gin. You can get there quicker, right? But wine is kind of more to be enjoyed. You can kind of get a smell of wine. You can look at the color of it. And what makes a rosé lighter or what makes it darker. Most of how they are made, true rosés are made where you let them stay on the skin. It's a red grape. You let it stay on the skin for 3 hours, 4 hours. The longer you let it stay on the skin, the darker it gets because all of your flavor comes from the skin of a grape. That little white side inside, that's just a juice thing. But your skin has got all the pigment in it, and that's where you get the color. So if you want it a little bit lighter, then you leave it on there a lot less. Now, depending on what type of grape it is, in a Zinfandel, you might not want to leave it in there as long as you do a Pinot Noir because the Zinfandel has more pigment flavors in it and gives you more color much faster. So you just look at the color till you get the color you want, and then you take the juice off the skins. That's really how you make rosé. Now, if you are making 500,000 cases, quite naturally, you can't do that, right? So in that case, what you do is you take a white wine and a red wine, and then you blend it till you get to the color and the flavor that you like. Try it at home sometime. If you're having a little party at your house and you want a rosé, take a white wine and a red wine. And all you do is you just add a little bit. You put your white wine in there, and then you put several drops of red wine in there until you get the color and the flavor you want. It's okay if you go over one time and you say, well, that's too much. But that's how you blend. The key to making wine is blending. It's the same thing you making gumbo. It ain't about making gumbo and having all the ingredients, but it's a matter of how you season it to get to where you want. So your season for wine is the yeast that you use. If you put it in barrel or put it on wood, these white wines, we don't like to put wood on them. And the reason we don't is because the wood will override those flavors sometimes. And so we try to use stainless steel. But here again, you don't want to leave it on stainless steel too long because what happens? You get what they call tinny. It starts tasting like tin, like something out of a can. And so you pick up that flavor. So that's what we do with this rosé. And I enjoy this rosé pretty much with the same type of food that I do with my favorite white wines. I do. You hear me talk about tacos quite a bit. I love to have a good taco. And let me tell you, if you haven't tried it, and it doesn't have to be Vision Cellars wine. It can be any rosé. Get you a good rosé with a little bit of residual, not too much, not too sweet, and have it at your next Thanksgiving dinner or Easter dinner. And the reason you want to do that, because normally Easter you eat what salty food, hams and cured meat. And so in Thanksgiving, you got Grandma Sue over, you go out and buy a $70 bottle of wine. Shit, they don't like that, you know what I mean? You waste your money. You get yourself a nice rosé and get it chilled, and then Uncle John, he don't like nothing this in his what do you call it, dressing, and so you got all that stuff in all these dressing, and it's kind of hard to pair a wine with it. You're wasting your money to go out and buy an expensive wine to do that. You know what I mean? Kind of like at a wedding, and then you buy all that champagne at the wedding. What happened to it? You look around, it's still sitting on the table. A lot of my friends, when they have their wedding, these young people now, what they do, they have beer because all their kids love beer. They have beer. They don't have that much of champagne. So, find out that, just try that the next Thanksgiving or next Christmas, next time you have a big meal over, have a nice variety of rosés. And you can get some really good rosés that's a lot less expensive, and you don't have to spend a whole bunch of money for a rosé, but just try enough of them to find out which one that you like. And you'll be surprised what you find, that how well a rosé go. Now, a lot of folks tell you, well, rosé don't last too long. This wine is a 2016. And they won't, the reason they have somebody may have some of that because they hid it out for Giamarco in Birmingham there, the own the restaurant Giamarco's there in Birmingham. And because he always wanted,
Yes, I'm familiar with that.
yeah, he always wanted to have this. So he's a pretty cool guy. I like him. And he always wanted to have it on there. So that's why you guys couldn't find it too much because, it's just not out there. And I don't have any more of this. And I only made this because I had such a high request for, residual wine, high residual or medium residual. That's the same word for sweetness of wine. You go to a wine shop, you want to, sound like you know what you're talking about. You don't ask for sweet wine. You just ask for, do you have wine with some residual in it? And so most folks know because if you come in asking for something sweet, they think that that's what black folks want anyway. So you just playing into people's hand. Learn them terms when you go in there. It says, I like to have a little bit of residual in my wine. Do you have anything like that? And they'll say, yeah, because they know because most people drink. They say, I don't like sweet wine. Oh, most people drink sweet wine. They just don't want to admit they do. I don't know why. You like sweet wine, that's what you like. It's your money, you buy what you want to buy.
Oh, you got me wrong over here. You are so hilarious. But I'm going to be cognizant that next time I'm going to ask them, you have some wine with a little more residual in it?
Yep. And then watch their eyes, And most of them folks in there, they don't know no more than you do. They have a job there, I'll go in there, and I'll be tasting wine. See, when I go wine tasting, I don't taste all that crap they want to give me. I tell them what I want to taste. If I'm going out wine tasting, I'm only drinking Cabernets today. And then I want to know, I don't want to, and I'm only drinking that year. I don't want to go out into Joe Blow's place and taste a 16 Cabernets and go to Jack's place and taste a 12 because they're not going to, that's not a comparison. That's not comparing apples to apples. It's a whole different wine because it had long enough to develop in the bottle. So, but if you go on wine tasting, you go to 4 wineries, think about it. You get to the first winery, they're going to pour you 5 wines. And they're not going to pour you, the top stuff anyway. So you go, you taste these 5 wines. And then you get to the next place, you taste 5 more. When you get to the third one, you about drunk, right? So decide what you want to taste. I want to taste rosés from Sonoma County, or I want to taste rosés from Mendocino County. That's what you want to do. You don't want to just go out and taste wine from everywhere because we buy grapes from all over. I buy grapes from Monterey County. I have grapes here in Sonoma County. I have them from Mendocino County. When you go out and buy a wine, I'm going to show you this. Everybody probably already know this. What does this say? When you go out and you do that, what you do is you look at the wine. Say you like this rosé. Example, you like this rosé. How can I get this on here, Lil? Oh, you get this on there. And if you see the name of this thing on there, it says Vision Cellars, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
See that? It says Vision Cellars. What you want to do is learn how to read a label, and then it tell you down there, tell you the year. And then under that, it would tell you that it says California. What does that mean to most folks? That means that I can use any grape in California and make this wine. The reason that I put this on there is I may use a grape from Mendocino County and Sonoma County. If I do that, I can't call it Sonoma County unless it is a certain percentage. And if this changed, then I got to go all the way back to the federal government to get this label approved. I also have to go back to Alabama if I'm selling it in Alabama, and they have to approve it. And all these people charge you all kind of money. But if I put California on here, I don't have to change that label no matter what the percentage is. So that's why you'll see that. But then normally on here, you'll see it'll say vintage. It'll say Joy Vineyard, Joy Vineyard. So if Joy is making 5 rosés, and one of them is called Joy, and then she got another vineyard that's called Ruth, that she make wine from Ruth Vineyard, you may like the Ruth, but you may not like the Joy. So remember when you're tasting wine, have yourself a little pad so you can write this crap down. So you'll know what year, it was produced and what vineyard it come from. And that way you can be more successful, because if you have it the next time, I get people calling me up and say, hey, I want to order one of your Pinot Noirs. Hell, I make 7 of them. Which one you want? So what we've done is we put them in different colors. All the labels are completely different colors in the Pinot Noir world and the Rosé world. And the reason we do that, because you can tell me what colors is, and then I can tell you which one of the wines that you had. And they're different colors. So try to practice that, try to just have yourself a little pad if you're tasting wine, or if your guys get together like you're doing now. Hey, write it down and say, you know what, this is what I like in a wine. You got a reference point to start with. And that's what I do that myself. I write down wine all the time, what I like about this wine, what I don't like about that wine. If you go out, you do the same. You kind of do that with food, right? If you go out and you have your catfish taco and you don't like it, you know everything you don't like about that wine. You remember that. So don't make the same mistakes on the wine. Hey, what else?
Well, I just want to say the first time that I tried this rosé, and I'm just not saying this because it's you, I thought this was some good A rosé. I loved it. In fact, I bought it. I asked who was the rep, and it was the guy from Rush, and I think it was at one of Linnell's celebrations. And so I took a picture of it, and I was so excited, and I tagged you in the picture. So then she had a special, and I got a half a case of it. And then to find out that this is probably like on the last batch we're gonna get, I may have to give me complete the set, just give me another half a case. I'm just saying.
Well, you better. I don't have it anymore at the winery. I get Lil get calls all the time. People saying, "Hey, we got to have some more of that rosé. Can we have it?" I don't have it any more of that, and I don't know. Like I say, in the last 3 years, I haven't been able to, do too much in making wine because all the fires in the area, all the vineyards just been kind of screwed up, So that's another thing in this business. You don't know whether the bug's going to get you or whether fires are going to get you. So, but that's part of being in business. But I'm enjoying my life.
Well, good. Well, the nails is open until 9:00. So if you all want some of this rosé, I suggest you give them a call, or she opens tomorrow at noon. So y'all better try to see whatever she can do to get you some, because I think I'm gonna have to snag me a few more bottles. So, ladies, what are your thoughts on the rosé?
Come on, you're not gonna hurt my feelings.
Again, I think it's just really, really smooth. It's not a bite to it like a lot of wines have that bite, and this just goes down very, very smooth. I was pleasantly surprised, just like I was with the white wine.
Well, thank you. Well, not every wine is for everyone. It's just like not every food. Like my wife, she don't like spicy stuff. I love spicy. I get that Crystal hot sauce, and I go to work on that sucker. But she doesn't like spicy food. So wine can be that way. There's some things that you just don't like about a wine. That doesn't mean that you don't like rosé or Zin. That means you just may not like this particular style. So not everybody's going to like anything that you do. So I don't get too carried away behind that. I just think that that's something made for you. You just have maybe not have found it yet. And like someone made earlier a statement about the white wine. You got to just try a lot of them to find out what you really like.
All right. Does anyone else have any comments they want to make?
I just want to make a comment about the rosé. I agree with the lady who just spoke. I was very surprised. I usually don't like certain rosés, and I really enjoyed yours.
Well, thank you. Well, one of the things that you got to remember that when folks in the past, they have made wine not to satisfy African American food or palate. Our palates are different. You can say what you want to say. Our palates are different than everyone else's, and it's no hidden secret. You talk to the Hispanics, the Asian, their palate is different. They have a different food culture. And so when you go into winemaking, they try to make wine where they think the majority of people are going to like, or where they can get the highest score. They don't think about what food that particular culture eat. If you talk to the Asian community, most of the food that they want to prepare with is what Riesling with residual sugar in it. They want a little bit more sweeter with their food because they put a lot of sugar in a lot of their foods. And so in our culture, we somewhat like a little bit of sweetness. But we kind of pull away from it because, you get laughed upon if you kind of like a little bit more residual in your wine. I have an endodontist, is he? He's an endodontist. He charged me $300 an hour to work on my mouth when I had my work done on my mouth. And he likes a sweet, high residual sugar Riesling. If he's eating a steak, he's going to have a bottle of Riesling with it. We used to think he was just cheap. But then we just finally found out that's what he liked, And I used to laugh at him, and I'd give him wine all the time because I thought, that cheap sucker, he don't even want to spend any money for a good bottle of red wine to have with his meat. It wasn't that. He just liked that Riesling with that high residual sugar with his steak. And nothing wrong with that. That's what he liked. That's what he liked. It's his money. He wasn't asking me to buy it, so he could spend his money when he wanted to. So drink what you like. Find that out by trying a lot of things. Any other question? I'm here to answer your question. I'm so happy.
Well, I have another question. So with your wines, they can go from affordable end, like me. I'm a low budget drinker, and then they go up to your country club drinkers. Does the price have to do with like where you get the grapes or the processing with the grapes?
It's a bunch of things. One is that's a key. Where you pay for the grapes. You can't make a $10 bottle of wine in Napa. It may have a Napa label on it, but they buying the grape from Lodi or someplace, some other ungodly cheap place. And so you put it this way: if you buy a ton of grapes, you get like 100. These are some numbers I'm gonna throw at you. You don't have to remember them, but they'll give you an idea. You buy a ton of grapes, you're gonna get about 140, 150 gallons. And then it takes 2.3775 gallons to make a case of wine. So you can see if you're paying $9,000 a ton up to, I would say, $20,000 a ton, your price is going to be different right there. The other thing come in deal is that you have the whole deal about selling it. So you got to say if you got a $50 bottle of wine, I have to sell it to my distributor in Alabama for $25. Out of that $25, I got to pay all that money for grapes. I have to pay for storages. I have to, pay for all the winemaking equipment, the billing. And then you have to, store it into places, and you got taxes and insurance on top of that. You have to have your wine insured, and every year the insurance go up on you. So you can't really get a really well-made wine out of Napa, Sonoma at a crazy low price. That's just the way the rules are. So that's one of the things that make the cost so different. You can ship a wine from Chile cheaper than you can from Northern California to Southern California to ship a bottle of wine UPS. The shipping is just eats you alive. It's tremendously high. And so when the distributors order the wine, they make up a markup on it to 35%. Then they give it to the wine shop or the restaurant. And like with my wine, with the availability, they know that everybody's going to want it, so they mark it up that even more. That's why a lot of folks buy wine directly from the winery because they cut out a lot of that milk cost. So those are all the factors going into the cost of making a bottle of wine. It is really it's really hard. It's really hard work to do, and it makes it nice for me because I don't have to pay a winemaker $200,000. Yeah, I make my own wine. I do, Miss Lil and I do most of our grape growing. We go pruning, pull the wires, and pull the suckers and all that stuff out the vine. We just go out and do a lot of that stuff ourselves. We put in the vineyard ourselves, and it normally costs you anywhere. I mean, just rough numbers, anywhere from 250 in Sonoma County to $5,000 an acre to put in a vineyard. And then you got to wait 4 years before you get any fruit off of it. Those are all determining factors that deliver your prices. So our wines run from for like about $22 up to 140, 180, depending on what we make in that year. And the higher the wine price is, the quicker it sells out here for us. There's some people that think that because it's got a high price tag, it's not better. That's why I say find out what you like, because you may be wasting money buying what somebody else tell you got to buy.
Well, I'm gonna stick with the rosé and the white because that's where I am today. When I'm able to get my business going back, then maybe I can have some of that high end wine. But so far, I have enjoyed what I've tried so far. So, does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Matt?
Tell what you guys do.
I have,
Do this for me. Think about this, okay? You know, Now you can't go out to a restaurant. And most of the time when you go out to a restaurant, just think about this. You're going to get ripped off anyway, right? So you're going to go out to a restaurant and you're going to buy a bottle of wine, and I would say it's going to cost you $60, $45, $60 mostly on the list, right? In most cases. I don't know where you go or where you go, but in most restaurants in Birmingham, it's going to cost you 45, 65 and up for a bottle of wine. So you may get together as, one, two or three of you and spend a little bit of money and have a little dinner around at home, or you might want to share it. In other words, you get a 750, that's a regular size bottle, and then you divide it up in half. And then one person take one half and the other person take the other half and share, and maybe have a kind of like a little Zoom dinner yourself. You may find that you'll enjoy much better quality wine, but it'll cost you less, because I do that a lot. A lot of times, Miss Lil's a great cook, and I think I know how to cook. All winemakers think they're better chefs than chefs anyway. So I eat at home, and I can afford to buy, a much higher end wine, because then I don't have to pay all that money outside, and I don't have to tip on it. So try that sometime. Some of our Pinot Noir, we have Pinot Noir house. These other wines we make for fun and we make them for enjoyment. But try some of our Pinot Noir wines, and you may find that one called a California that they have. It's a 2018. It's light, fruity, cherry, berry, with a nice little sweet finish of oak on the finish of it. Try that and just try it together. You guys get together, sometime with your family, or if you got a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever you have, you might just want to share a nice bottle of wine with that instead of going out to dinner. Just have one at home. We got a thing called Costco here, and it's kind of like a grocery store. What you guys got down there, like a Piggy Wiggy, I think it is. But you can go in there and you can get roasted chickens already. And sometimes when I do these tastings like we're doing now, I tell everybody, go out and buy you a roasted chicken. Buy everybody get a garlic roasted chicken, and then take the meat and make part of it white and the other part dark. And we're gonna taste these two wines, and you're gonna taste both of them with the light and the dark, and you'll find out they're completely different tastes in your mouth. So that's another good way that you can afford to, really look at buying a little bit more a pricier wine and get to taste it. And if you don't like it, then that's okay. But that's a good way to try other wine. Okay, you guys.
All right. Is there anybody else?
I've never had anybody this quiet. Normally I get beat up
Denise,
about.
did you have a?
I had, I guess, two questions. The first one was about the rosé, and it was kind of the same thing. I wasn't sure what we were getting into signing up for the wine tasting, but I'm primarily a red wine drinker. I like dark. Zinfandels, Cabernets are my thing. I like dry, nose chocolate, tobacco, maybe, blackberry in the mix. But I found that both of your wines were very enjoyable. And my question, I guess, to you, just with some of the varieties that you offer outside your usual Pinot Noir, are you intentionally picking particular profiles of flavors to incorporate into your white wines or your rosés that you particularly like, or does that kind of vary from year to year what you decide to use to accent each of the wines? But overall, I should say I enjoyed them.
Yeah, I try to keep the rosé. This rosé of Zen. I only made that because I got so many requests. From people saying I like something with a little bit, residual in it. That's the only reason that I made that, because I normally don't make it, because I was trying not to play into this typical role, of making something sweet, with residual sugar in it. But I liked it, I liked it. I'm going to send Joy a recipe for you guys. If you get a bottle of this rosé, hold on to it. I'm going to send her a recipe that I use a lot to make a sangria. I'm telling you, don't tell me you don't like sangria out of this rosé. You'll thank me forever when you taste this. So as far as making these wines, I don't try to duplicate what I done last year. What I do when I get something, I'm going to take that year and I'm going to make it the best I can for that year, trying to use the same ingredients. But if you get your grapes from the same location every year, then pretty much your fruit is going to be the same every year. It may change because of the weather pattern of the sun, all that determines the ripeness of the fruit. But pretty much if you taste our wines, you'll find that you like this particular label or this particular vineyard every year. We make all these different Pinot Noirs from the last thing. We've had customers here. I don't know what they're doing. Sometimes I get a little bit worried about my customers, because some of our customers every 2 weeks they are ordering another case of that same wine. But then I think about it. Hell, I'm drinking a bottle of wine a day, so that's 12 days out of a bottle. 12 days, out of a case. So I guess that's not bad, if they do it every 2 weeks. But they wasn't doing that. And then some of the folks are saying, because they're home every day. So the people are drinking more. And some people are actually drinking up. Some of the people that was didn't order our red wines and really, high-end wine, they wasn't really ordering, but now they are, because they figure, well, I don't go out to eat, so I'm going to drink me some nicer wine. So that's what we try.
That's a good, that's a good point. And I never thought about trading, instead of going out to dinner, to get you a higher end of wine that you could try, because you're not spending that money on food.
Yeah, and when you go out, they tip you on the whole thing, wine and everything. When you get done, you're tipping pretty good. You don't want to be a cheapskate when you go out. So and you know, we all know how to cook. You know, I mean, you know, we all know how to cook. We may not like it all the time, but I enjoy cooking. I really enjoy, you know, having cooking tonight. And so we got some wine. Where did I buy it from? I bought it from up in Lodi. Lodi is another area. You see, the wine up there don't cost as much because the fruit is different, and it's a Syrah. A guy sent me this Syrah. He goes, Mac, you need to taste this one. So Miss Lil made a uh, some type of stew tonight. She's making, and we're going to have that Syrah, you know, with that wine. But we didn't put wine into the stew thing. Some people do, but we didn't tonight because I really wanted to taste the wine by itself. If I put it into the stew, then I'm going to taste it in both places, and I may not like that. This way, I'll know for sure how well this wine goes with it. And he's having the same thing, so we both, having the same thing. We'll talk about it later on tomorrow or something. But that's a good way to do that, you guys. Think about that. Just think about, sharing a little bit more. If you go out and I don't know if you got a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever you got, you want to get together once in a while. You spend a lot of money when you go out, but you can have a real good, intimate afternoon at home. Miss Lil and I do it all the time. We do it because we travel so much in the past until, hell, when I got back from eating at all these fancy restaurants, shit, I just wanted me a ham hock sandwich or something. You get tired of eating that food and stuff. Well, you do. You get tired of that. You just still want, sometimes you just want some really good food. Like I said, I made hush puppies and tomato soup today. You know what I mean? And I had it with the wine. So, just try that. It don't have to be Vision Cellars wine. I'm not trying to convince you to buy Vision Cellars wine. I'm just saying some of those wines that you think, well, it cost me $60 for that. Well, hell, you're gonna get a mediocre bottle of wine for $60 when you go out to the restaurant. So why not treat yourself, enjoy yourself?
I agree. And if you don't know that, a lot of times if you get a case of wine, that typically they will give you at least a 10% discount. So you can always go in with some friends
Yeah,
and go ahead and get a case of wine and try it out.
yeah, and then that's a good thing. That's a good point. You just get together and you say, well, let's buy one of these. But it's nothing wrong with folks with sharing your wine. It's nothing in the world wrong with sharing a good bottle of wine. You'll be happy with yourself, and you may not like it. You may go back to your old standby, but just find out. Hey, I like to have a bottle of that wine, and some people they stuck on a certain price range. That's a good thing because you look and try to find some good wines at that price. If you try some wines from Chile. Chile is a good place to buy wine from. And the reason it is because, the government helped them support them. So they get the wine here pretty cheap. We were in Argentina and Chile about 3 years ago, and I thoroughly enjoyed the wines. I thought the wines were good. And also try some red wines from Portugal because they are not that expensive. I went into a restaurant when I was in Portugal, and we were sitting at the bar, and so I got this wine. Was it white wine? I think it was white wine, wasn't it? It was white wine, and I had it, and so the guy, I said, well, I'd like to buy a couple of bottles of this wine and take it back to my room. I says, and I, paid for it. I thought he said me $17. I thought that he was talking about for that glass of wine that I had. He goes, no, it's $17 a bottle. I said, you sell it to me for $17 a bottle? He goes, yeah, $17 a bottle to give me a half a case. You know what I mean? Because for $17 for that bottle of wine at a restaurant, it was unbelievable. So try some red wines from Portugal. I'm not trying to, get you out of the country and not buy wine from here and there. I'm just trying to get you to open up your mind and look out there at some other wines, and you may be surprised of the quality of wine you're going to find. Email me and let me know what you think.
Well, if I taste a good wine, I don't want to share it. Go ahead.
I was curious, just in your travels internationally, have you found that what you find out in the United States as far as what you pay per bottle if you're dining out at some fine restaurant, and also maybe the corkage fees is it comparable at all? Because I feel like every time I've been abroad, even to a place like Canada, it's been way more affordable to purchase bottle by the wine, by the bottle, rather than by the glass versus being stateside. And you can get something that's really amazing at a decent price.
Yeah, in Canada, they charge you more to import the wine in. That's why your cost may be a little bit higher there. But they are not so amped to want to rip you off, so to speak. Here, the thing that I find that we do here is expected. It's expected for you to pay a high price for a bottle of Napa Valley wine. You're not buying maybe not buying a quality there, but you're buying a label that says Napa Valley. And that means that you can charge $15 to $20 more for your wine. If you're buying fruit from Sonoma County, that means you can charge more from Sonoma County than you can for Lodi. It used to be Monterey County, you couldn't sell the grapes down there. Now you can't buy the grapes down there because we have three vineyards. We buy fruit from down there, and their prices are outrageous for that vineyard. So yes, there is a difference as you travel. You get into Portugal is really good. Brazil or Argentina, they don't rip you off on the price of the wine, and you don't have to worry about all that big tipping. And in Japan, you offend people if you tip them. I didn't know the first time I went over about 15 years ago. I was trying to tip this driver. And he goes, well, you didn't like my service? And I didn't know what he meant. But, they charge you for what they charge you. And you get out of the car and they close the door. They don't even want you to touch the doors, You get in there and that's it. So, yes, there's a big difference as you travel. But I love traveling. I guess we had a trip scheduled to South Africa last March. But then I got to thinking about it and reading about it. They didn't have any water in, what's the name of the fall? Victoria Falls. The water, thing had dried up, and the travel agent didn't tell me that I'd have went there. I wouldn't have saw no water anyway. And I was figured if I got over there and I, couldn't get back due to this virus thing was starting, then I'd be screwed. And sure enough, they canceled the trip and halfway through all of that stuff. But they make some good wines coming out of there as well, It's kind of sad if you know the history of South Africa. They got all that land back and all that winery, but now they can't sell the damn wine, right? So it's a sad thing. But if you can see some of those wines, you may like some of those. Just try a different variety of wine.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions? Any comments? Because I know we've held you over for over an hour. I didn't think we were going to go this long, but it was great conversation and great wine. And really, when I look at the damage, I done went through about a bottle of wine because I have a half a bottle of each. But I'm glad that I'm going with this.
Well, that's what happens when you're having fun and enjoying yourself. I love doing these types of things. And like I say, I enjoy whenever I come into town, Birmingham, or wherever I go, I always tell my distributor, you have to find me an African American location to do some event. You gotta do that because otherwise I'll be doing thing with Frank Stitch and used to be a guy used to own the Little Savannah there in Birmingham.
Oh, Chef Cliff.
Oh, Cliff. Crazy as hell, ain't he? But I love
that's my buddy though.
I love him. He's crazy. I love him to death. And then I do all this stuff with these country clubs, and I'll tell you guys, I went down to Shoal Creek. It's been about 15 years ago. Done a wine dinner down there, but I was over in Anniston, Alabama. You know what that is?
Yes, sir.
I went over to Anniston, and I was at this country club, and I was talking, and I had the guy say, "Well, where are you going to be tomorrow night?" And I told him, "I'm going to be at Shoal Creek Country Club," and he goes. Oh, he went berserk on me. I don't believe you're going to go down there and you're going to do that. That boy, he went off. And I guess there was an incident with Chico Rodriguez and Tiger Woods that I didn't know about, And Charles Parker. And then, I didn't even know anything about that. So I thought, wow, what was that all about? So I get back to Birmingham, and so I asked my distributor, it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. I said, well, what was that all about? He goes, I don't know. I said, come on, man, you know what that was all about. He goes, let me call my mother. So he called his mother, and I think the mayor at that time was some African American guy. I can't remember what his name was. So she called him because she was an attorney. She called him in the middle of the morning, and the mayor says, "Well, I don't know. Let me get no Star Wars. Let me get Star Wars on the phone, and I'll ask Star Wars. Star Wars was a football player for the Steelers." And Thorwald says, I'm not sure about that. Let me get old Bark on the phone. And I didn't know who he was talking about. Old Charles Barkley. And he was moaning and groaning. And so they told me all about the whole story about that. So when I got ready to go down there to do the dinner, we drove into that Shoal Creek Country Club, and there was nothing in there but a bunch of old looking cars. And then I got out of, when we got there at the park, my distributor bagged his car in. I said, what are you doing? He goes, well, just in case we had to make a quick getaway. I said, what do you mean make a quick getaway? I said, these people doing black, don't you? He goes, oh, no, I never thought about that. I said, well, hell, you're thinking about it now, So, I said, okay, then. So I told him, you and Miss Lil, you guys walk on up front there, You guys walk on up front. I'm thinking about, if something happened here, I've got to figure my way escape to get out of there, right? This thing is way in the woods. I mean, it's way in the country, right? I figure they're going to have a hanging down here, and nobody will find me. So when you get out of the car, I'm not kidding, you could smell them women when you got out of the car. They had on that Chanel number 5. Chanel number 5, and they had them big old hair beehive things up there. And I'm getting a little nervous, And I always wear overalls when I go stuff, but this thing outside, I better wear a jacket. So I had my jacket on, and I woke up there, and when I walked up there, they had a big old pile of ice. A big old pile of ice, and they had whole salmons on top of the ice, and they had was it oysters? Clams and oysters and clams in the half shell. And was it oysters?
Yeah, oysters from 5 different areas all over the world.
5 different areas all over the world. They flew them in that night. And then they were just eating them around this bar, and they were drinking one of my Pinot Noirs, which was a big on the bowler side, a little bowler. And I thought, boy, these old boys, it's twisted and got to these boys' brain. Folks, let me tell you, that was one of the best pairing that I ever had. And to this day, I still eat oysters with Pinot Noir. If you have not tried it, I want you guys to go get yourself a bottle of Cellars Pinot Noir and get yourself a dozen raw oysters. You will go nuts. I go into restaurants and to these bars, and I order that stuff. And sometimes they look at me like I'm crazy, and they bring it. And then they go, I never saw that before, so you got to try it. And then I get an email from them. I can't believe how that saltiness and that sweetness of that cherry or that wine go with that. And then
can I have mine fried? Can I have my oysters fried? I've tried raw oysters a couple times. I cannot.
Well, some people can. You see, you can't get them big ones. You got to get them little smaller ones. You can't be eating them big ones. I know you can't swallow those. Unless you were real, hard at it, That's old Linnell. How you doing, darling? Oh, she's typing in something. So you gotta kind of, have that with that orchard. I got that from Alabama. That was one of my Alabama thing. But anyway, I get into this thing, and I'm up there talking, and this guy, everybody's got, the bulldog of the group, and so he said, hey, fella, he says, I've been trying to get into that Parsi up in New York City. And he goes, I understand you well connected. Could you help me get into that restaurant, He goes, I got, I want to get in there. And I'm so talking. He interrupt me right in the middle of what I'm talking about. And I thought, okay, I guess he's the bulldog of the group. I'll just go ahead on and be nice. And, and I said, when do you want to go? And he said, well, let me see here. And he told me, so I'm up there talking, and I dialed my buddy who's a winemaker, Andre Mack. Andre Mack? He sells
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Andre. He sells them at Linnell's as well. And so I get him on the phone. I says, hey, I'm doing a wine dinner here, and I got fellas that said he's been trying to get in for like 6 months, and he can't get in to have dinner. And then I said, can you help him out for me? He goes, yeah. So I gave this guy my phone. while I'm up there talking, and he's standing up there.
Winemaker dinner.
Yeah, the winemaker dinner. And he's standing up there just talking. And he pulls out his wallet and give him his credit card. And he gives him all this stuff. And he looked around and he goes, "Fella, you are real connected." It was just kind of funny to me that he probably thought I didn't know anybody nowhere. He was just trying to pull a smart one on me. But I got a lot of good stories in Alabama, but I like Alabama. Okay.
Well, listen. If you come back here to Birmingham and you don't let me know beforehand so we can work out something, we're going to have to meet in the backyard or the back of the vineyard because we have got to be able to do something. I want to be able to meet you in person and give you a hug. You are an amazing storyteller. We've enjoyed listening to you. Your wine is incredible. And I have to be honest, when you wrote back on a post that I wrote on your page and responded, I thought I was going to melt. I'm like, oh my God, this is like an amazing person I would love to meet. So, yeah, I've already told Mel I'm going to need some more of this rosé since she told me that we're about to run out of this, but we're going to have to connect when you come to Alabama.
Yeah, make you one of them, get one of them tacos. You can make it two ways. You can get the flour one and then get the corn, what they call the corn one. Mm-hmm. You get the corn one and you put the corn one into the flour one, put your cheese around the flour one and set the other one in there and put your catfish in there and there's a little bit of coleslaw and write me and let me know what you think. But I'm going to email you a recipe to do with this sangria. And I'm telling you, I want all you ladies to save a little bit of your rosé of Zen and try it with this suggestion I'm going to send to you. And I'm telling you, you're gonna thank me. You're gonna say, "Oh, God, I know a few things about something."
Well, we think we know a whole lot about it.
Yeah, but I try to be as open about all this stuff as I can. I don't let this stuff get to my head. We just won a big award here in Sonoma County for one of our red wines. We was in the top 100, and that Wine Spectator magazine has written about our wine, for the last, last 20 years. Mm-hmm. In every magazine throughout the U.S., we've been in. I've been in a lot of papers in Alabama,
your wines have been at the White House.
Yeah, everybody had my wine at the White House except the last guy was at that location.
Well, yeah, he's worthy of your wine, so we're going to move it on.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we're going to be okay. All right. Well, what is Linnell talking about? Hi, Linnell.
Yeah, she said that you're going to get a whipping if you don't come and see her when you're in Birmingham.
I've known her since she was in Brooklyn. Lil and I went out to her wine shop when she was in Brooklyn, and we thought she was the cutest, funniest person that we ever met. She just been always sure. And so then when I was down there one time, I knew she was back in Birmingham, but I couldn't find her. So I asked this lady that came into the wine shop, I said, I'm looking for this lady named Linnell. And then she said, "Oh, you got to be kidding. She used to own a wine shop in Brooklyn." I said, "Yeah." She goes, "She's my best friend." And she goes, "Okay." So she called her and gave me the phone, and we were hooked up in about 35 minutes after that. And so then she told me she's going to do this wine shop, and I said, "Well, let me know." And so she's a big supporter of what we do.
Exactly, and in fact, that's where I learned about you. She has a dedicated section in her shop with African American winemakers, and so I was like, first of all, I didn't know we exist. And then to be able to go somewhere that we can see us, it's truly been amazing. So I have learned so much just being Linnell's friend, hanging out with her about wines, about whiskeys. So she's my girl. When before COVID, my tour would always stop at her shop. And the people went crazy in there. And I'm like, okay, we got to go on. We got to go on. There's always that one more person that was in there. So she has an amazing thing that's going on. And I do appreciate her for helping me to get the rosé tonight, because her shop is the only place that we can find this at. And it's over in Norwood, down the street from Top Golf, across from, I've been drinking too much tonight to tell you exactly, across from the place that it is. Okay, I've been drinking tonight. It's all Mr. Mac's fault, but I'm going to sober up and put those in the comments.
Well, you know what? They tell me if you drink enough, long enough, you get sober. When you used to hang out all night. You
Exactly.
gotta take a little nap and you wake up about 3 o'clock and you start about drinking again and you sober enough to go to work the next day.
Oh my God, that's the way I feel right now.
All right, well, ladies, I'll keep you posted when I'm in Alabama, and come on, let me introduce you to Miss Lil. Come over here, woman.
Yes, I've heard so much about Miss Lil. We love to meet her.
Go this way. There you
Come
go.
on in. Hi, Miss Lil.
I've been listening to all your conversations. We can hang out.
That's what I'm saying. Listen, and I already want to be your friend because he told me you can cook and I love to eat. So we're already best friends. I'm just letting you know that.
Okay.
Well, that's how I met Lil. I was worked for her father at this restaurant. He was over like 5 restaurants in San Francisco. And so he told me one day, he goes, "You're a good kid. I'd like you to meet my daughter." And I'm thinking, this guy's a different nationality than I am. He want me to meet his daughter. Shit, something got to be wrong with her, right? I thought, then I said, "No, chef, I don't think I need a wife." Hell, I weighed 220 pounds and with a 32-inch waistline, and I was buff. I said, "No, man, I don't think I need a woman." And so he goes, "Okay, son." And he waited around for about 6 months. He brought it up again. And I'm thinking, boy, he's really desperate. She must be walking around looking at stars in the daytime. You want to get rid of her, right? So then I said, "No, chef, that's okay." And so then one day I see him out there talking to this young lady. I said, "Hey, chef, who is that?" He goes, "That's my daughter I was telling you about." I said, "Holy shit, that makes a difference here, brother." And so that's how I met Lil. Then she screwed around and took advantage of me, so that I've had her ever since.
I know it is not a dull moment around with you two. I just know this.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, she bought a baby home about 52 years ago? How old is Jim?
Jim is 53. We tease him all the time. We say, "Well, son, you're not too far from Social Security check."
Yeah, so we bought it. Our oldest son is 53 years old, so you can understand how long I've been putting up with this stuff.
Hey,
But we have a good we have a good time, you ladies, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys when I'm there.
You better believe it. So we're gonna look for that recipe, and hopefully soon COVID will be over and we get to meet you in person.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Bye, ladies. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you, sir.
Stay safe.
You too.
Bye.
You too. Bye-bye. Thanks again.
What did it say right here? Now you get out.